Alright, welcome back everybody. In this video we're going to talk about making predictions from probabilities. And this is a really common concept that crops up in a number of different locations mathematically. So we're going to, really delve into this. When we're trying to make predictions using probability, basically we're going to use this process. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to find the probability of the outcome that we're predicting from the given displayed data. And this will make more sense when we actually look at some data displays. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to determine the total number of items in your population. And that's usually just a matter of reading through the problem and seeing how many total things are in your group. And then the third thing we're going to do is we'll take our probability, either in fraction or decimal form, and we will multiply it by the number of items in our population. And so basically we find the probability of something from a sample, and then we utilize that to determine the total number of occurrences we should expect for that outcome in our given population. And what exactly we mean by this will become pretty clear as we look at some examples here. Let's look at the first example. The line plot below shows the heights of 20 randomly selected students at a high school. There are a total of 1,000 students at the high school. Okay, so you see your line plot here. It shows the height of 1,000 students at the high school, of 20 students at the high school. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to determine the probability of the outcome that we want in order to use that to predict. So in part A here, we're trying to find about how many students are 66 inches tall. So I look at my line plot and I see that at 66 we have 3 out of the 20 students. And so our probability that a student is 66 inches tall in this high school, based off of the data that we've collected, is 3 out of 20. So that's our probability. Now we want to apply that to the total population at the school. Well, we're told here there are a total of 1,000 students at the school. So we're going to take that 3 over 20, and we're going to multiply it by the 1,000 students. And that's going to be our prediction for how many students at the school are that height. And I can just go ahead and do that on my calculator. 3 out of 20 times 1,000. And we're going to predict that 150 students at the school are 66 inches tall. Alright, let's do that again. Only this time we're going to do it in part B, where we say about how many students at the school are 68 or more inches tall. So we start at 68. We want 68 or more. And we count up the number of students who fit into that category. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 X's out of the 20 students. So we're going to say that the probability of that is 6 out of 20. And we'll multiply that by the number of students in the population, and that'll give us our prediction. So 6 out of 20 times 1,000. Oops, I missed a 1 there. That'll be important. And we will predict that 300 of the students are 68 or more inches tall. Alright, and on to the last one here. About how many students are between 61 and 70 inches tall. And so I go from 61 all the way over to 70. Count up all of those X's. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. So the probability that a student is between 61 and 70 inches tall is 15 out of those 20. And then we're going to multiply that by 1,000 to make our prediction. So 15 out of 20 times 1,000. And we're going to predict that 750 of the students at the school are between 61 and 70 inches tall. Alright, so that's how we can use probability from a little bar graph like that. Let's go on to the next. Here we've got a circle graph which shows how Joan invested her money. If Joan invested $25,000, we're going to find out how much money she invested in various different things here. And realize that what we see in this circle graph is we really see the probability that Joan is going to invest a particular dollar into a particular spot. For instance, if Joan has $1, there's a 4% chance that she put it into her savings account. There's a 13% chance that she put it into CDs, a 50% chance that she put it into mutual funds, a 33% chance that she put it into stocks. So we're really seeing the probability of her doing these things. And so if we want to find out how much money she invested in savings, we find the probability that she put it in savings is 4%. We want to convert that probability over to a decimal. Okay, so we slide the decimal point 2 places over to the left. And the probability that she put $1 in savings was 0.04, which we're then going to multiply by the population, which for Joan here, she's got $25,000 to invest. And so we're going to take 0.04 times 25,000. And so we're going to say she has $1,000 in savings. All right, stocks are next. She put 33% of her money in stocks, which if we change that over to a decimal is going to be 0.33. That's the probability that $1 goes into stocks. We multiply that by how much money she has, and that's going to tell us how much she has in stocks. $8,250. Having a little bit of writing difficulty here with my stylus. Then we go to CDs in part C here. 13% chance. So it's 0.13 times the $25,000. She's going to put $3,250 into CDs. And then lastly, mutual funds. She put 50% of her money into mutual funds. That's 0.50. And we're going to multiply that by the 25,000. And we get that she put $12,500 into mutual funds. All right, on to the last example here. It says the probability of being dealt a pair of the same rank card in a hand of Texas Hold'em is 1 in 17. About how many times should you expect to be dealt a pair if you play each of the following numbers of hands? Okay, so our probability is 1 in 17. And we're going to take that probability times the number of hands that we play in order to make our prediction. So we've got 1 in 17 times 100 hands here in part A. And we get 5.882. And we're going to estimate, since we can't play 5.882 hands, we're going to say that that's about 6. We'll round off to the nearest number of times. So if we play 100 hands, we should expect to be dealt a pair approximately 6 times. We'll do the same thing with these other numbers of hands. We'll take that probability and multiply it by the number of hands that we play. And we'll say there that we'll expect approximately 29 pairs if we play 500 hands. It really shows you how rare it is to, get dealt a pair in this particular game. We do the same thing in part C. We take the probability of getting dealt a pair times the number of hands we're dealt. And we'll say we should get a pair about 118 times if we're dealt 2,000 hands. And then we'll do the same for 10,000 hands. It's really nice in this problem that we were given the probability. Didn't have to figure out what it was. And there we're going to get about 588. Alright, so to recap here, basically we've got this process. We need to find the probability. We need to figure out how many total things are in our population. Okay, so going back through this last example, we found the probability from the information that we were given. We looked at the population for each, which in this case was 100. And then we just multiplied those two things together to get the number of occurrences that we would predict. And that's how we handle making predictions from probability. That's the end of this video. See you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.